They laughed before he even finished his first sentence. Not a loud laugh, not a mean laugh. That kind of laugh people use when they think they are better than you. Miguel noticed it right away. The small pause, the side looks, the quiet smirks, all because of how he said one word. Good morning. Miguel stood in front of the class, holding his notebook with both hands. His voice was calm, but his heart was not. He could feel it beating fast, like it wanted to escape his chest. My name is Miguel Reyes, he said. I'm from the Philippines, someone whispered. Of course. Another voice said, here we go. Miguel heard everything, he always did. He had trained himself to listen carefully, because when you come from a place people underestimate, listening becomes your shield. The teacher smiled and told him to sit down. Miguel walked back to his seat, feeling every eye on him. That was the moment he understood something very important. This school was not going to be easy. Westbridge International Academy was proud of one thing more than anything else: confidence. Students spoke loudly, they spoke fast. They spoke like their words owned the room. Miguel spoke clearly, but differently. And different was not welcome. By the end of the first week, he noticed the pattern. When he answered questions, some students looked bored. When others answered the same way, the class nodded. When Miguel spoke, they heard his accent first. When others spoke, they heard the idea. Soon the joke started. Say that again. Why do you talk like that? You sound like customer service. They laughed. Miguel smiled. He always smiled, not because it didn't hurt, but because back home, his mother taught him something. Never let people see the place where your strength is growing, she said. Miguel's strength was growing quietly. At lunch, Miguel sat alone most days. He watched students talk about competitions, trips, and plans. He thought about his parents back home, waking up early, working hard, proud that their son was studying abroad. He would not disappoint them. One afternoon, the school announced a big event, the Global Voices Summit. Each class would send one student to speak in front of teachers, parents, and guests from different countries. The speaker would represent the school. The room filled with excitement. Miguel's classmates already knew who they wanted. Tall students, confident voices, perfect accents. Miguel didn't think about it at all, until his teacher called his name after class. Miguel, she said, I want you to consider auditioning. Miguel froze. Me, he asked. She nodded. Yes, you have something to say. Miguel wanted to ask her if she was joking. Instead, he said thank you and walked home slowly. That night, he could not sleep. Every laugh came back to him. Every joke, every look. What if they laughed again? What if he failed? Then he remembered his father's voice. Electricity does not shout, his father used to say, but it lights cities. Miguel decided he would audition. The audition day came. Students stood in line, practicing speeches, stretching their shoulders, breathing deeply. Miguel stood quietly at the back. When it was his turn, he stepped onto the stage. The lights were bright. The room was silent. He opened his mouth. And then it happened. Someone laughed. Just one person. But it was enough. Miguel paused. The silence felt heavy. For a moment, he almost walked away. Then he spoke. I want to talk about voices, he said. Not how they sound, but what they carry. He spoke slowly. Clearly, honestly. He talked about learning English, not to sound smart, but to survive. He talked about communities helping each other after storms. He talked about speaking even when your voice shakes. When he finished, no one laughed. The judges thanked him. Miguel walked off the stage without knowing what to feel. Days passed. Then the announcement came. Miguel Reyes was chosen as the speaker. The school exploded with reactions. Why him? His accent, though. Are they serious? Miguel heard it all. The pressure grew. Students watched him now, not with laughter, but with doubt. The night before the summit, a problem happened. The main speaker from another class lost his voice. Panic spread. The teachers gathered. They needed someone who could fill time if anything went wrong. They looked at Miguel. Miguel, the principal said, can you speak without notes? Miguel swallowed. Yes, he said. The day of the summit arrived. The hall was full. Parents, teachers, guests from different countries. The first speakers went well. Then suddenly the sound system failed. The screen went black. Whispers filled the room. The principal walked to the microphone. We will take a short pause, he said. Miguel felt a hand on his shoulder. Be ready, the teacher whispered. The silence grew longer. Then the principal made a decision. "We will continue without slides," he announced. "Miguel Reyes will speak." Miguel stood up. His legs felt weak. He walked to the stage. The room was quiet. This was not an audition. This was real. He took a deep breath. "My accent tells a story," he began. "Some people shifted in their seats. I did not choose it," he continued. "It chose me." He spoke about being judged before being understood, about being quiet but prepared, about voices that are ignored because they sound different. Then his voice grew stronger. "English is not owned by one country," he said. "It belongs to everyone who uses it to connect." The room leaned in. He told stories of nurses, teachers, and workers who speak English with accents and save lives every day. He ended with one sentence. "Do not ask whose accent is correct. Ask whose voice is missing." Silence. Then applause, not polite applause. Real applause. People stood up. Miguel looked out and saw faces changed. Students who once laughed now avoided his eyes. Not because they were angry, but because they understood. After the event, people came to him. "Your speech changed how I think," one guest said. A classmate whispered, "I'm sorry." Miguel nodded. Weeks later, Miguel noticed something strange. When he spoke, people listened, not because his accent disappeared, but because their minds opened. One day, a new student arrived. Nervous, quiet. "Different accent." The class laughed. Miguel stood up. "Let him finish," he said. The room went silent, and just like that, the cycle broke. Miguel never changed how he spoke. He changed how people listened. They mocked his accent, until he spoke for them all. If this story stayed with you, maybe it's because you've felt something like this too. Maybe you've been laughed at for how you speak, where you come from, or who you are. Remember this. Your voice does not need permission to matter, and your difference may be the very thing the world needs to hear. Here at Allview Philippines, we share stories like this to remind ourselves that strength can be quiet and courage can sound different. Thank you for listening. Take this story with you. And when you hear a voice that sounds different, listen a little closer.